It's been a very cold January, so let's pull up a blanket, grab your closest tea mug, chamomile, and let's get warm by the fire for my January recap. I just can't help but be a little bit corny. Anyways, my name is Natalie and welcome back to the Board Gamer Girl channel. If you're new here, I like to play board games, primarily solo, and that's what we'll focus on. But today we are doing my first monthly recap. So for January, let's get into it. So January was my first month back to YouTube after a very long drawn out pause, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go somewhere here. I will attach the video so that you have some context. But it has been a really fun return. I was able to do my first playthrough video, which was actually going to be one of my goals for 2026, and to already do it in January and realize I had the ability to do so. Obviously, there's still improvement to be had, but we did 2 full playthroughs. So we did my Moon Colony Bloodbath, which again, thank you to Rio Grande Games for sponsoring that video. And then we did Flamecraft Duals. And speaking of Flamecraft Duals, I actually got a care package from Cardboard Alchemy this month as well, in order to promote their retail release. So I was actually already going to record my solo mode check episode for Flamecraft, but this happened to come in the mail at the same time, so I was able to have the retail box in the video as well as the deluxe box that I was playing on. So we got this calendar, which actually had a bunch of convention dates, but also their retail release date of January 28th. Each of the calendars also has a score track on each of the month for the game of Flamecraft Duals. And then they also partnered with Many Worlds Tavern, which I think is like a tabletop RPG coffee and tea shop. And they were able to get a bunch of the Sandera Tang art put on some of their teas that they included in the package. So every time you've actually seen me drinking tea, I've been drinking the tea sent from them. So they've been yummy and fantastic, and I like them very much. Thank you. And then the rest of the box also had some other treats in there, so I think I will get to them in a second. But at first I was a little hesitant to try to dive into them because they were just so cute. And I remember little dollars from my childhood, but there they are. The dual dragons, but they have little Cadbury chocolate coins inside. So they have a couple of the dual dragons here. And yeah, eventually I did eat them and they were very good. Thank you very much. But of course, the number one thing in the package was the copy of Flamecraft Duals Retail Edition, which was really good to know what was different, but it had very high quality even for the retail. But now back to the rest of my Flamecraft playthrough video, which wasn't intended to be a full playthrough, but started a series that I wanted to look at multiplayer games and see if their solo mode stood up to being a game that I would keep on my shelf if I only played it solo. So we'll be getting more of that in February. And then we also had my best games of 2025, where a few of those games I've already played this month. But let's get into my board game recap. And that is that January, first of all, was a very slow month. I will say that the beginning of the month, I kind of had a little bit of a dip, and people have that, and it is okay. But I did play, I think, 14 games and had 23 plays. I played a lot of games multiple times, and that includes Dungeon Exit, which is kind of like a tile placement game where you have to put Tetris-style pieces in a certain order to get from one part of the dungeon to the next. So it's a logic puzzle where they've got a whole bunch of different puzzles for you to go through. So I played that quite a few times. I played Core of Discovery. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but that one was also another logic puzzle. I feel like maybe I played a lot more logic puzzles than I've ever played. this month. But I played that, and it was the tutorial a few times. There were a few difficulties getting through it. And then what else? I played Above and Below Haunted and played that solo and multiplayer this month. I also played Moon Colony Bloodbath and Flamecraft Duals, obviously. I did go to a little small convention called Beaver Con this month, which I'll touch on in a little bit. And then Finspan is one that will be coming to the channel, and was given a review copy from Stonemeyer, so we'll see that coming up. But other than that, when I do my monthly stats, I'll just make sure to note that I'm doing only physical plays. I don't put my BGA stats. I like to count when I'm like physically at a table, or maybe I'll play virtual, or I'll put virtual plays into my stats if, say, like we're all on a video call or something like that. Some of the games that I think were my favorite from the month of the new to me games, I think I really liked Covenant, which is a game that I own, and I really liked it, but I only played it once, and I'm nervous for, one, the amount of playtime, and two, what the solo mode would be like. And hopefully it was very like icon heavy, and then a lot of tricky rules, not as in the rules were tricky, but making sure you do things in a particular order that follow the rules. Because there's a bunch of icons, there's a bunch of almost different mini games that you're doing while playing basically the dwarves of Moria, or the dwarves trying to get your mountain back from goblins and orcs and all that good stuff. But it's pretty fun. And I think one of my biggest surprises was Four Corner Detective, which is a really like a basic card game that a friend brought. So in Four Corners Detective, you're basically trying to figure out the different sharpness of the rounded edges of your card. So you'll get a card and you'll have to feel the edges of the card to see if it's a 3, a 4, a 5, or an 8. 8 being the like smoothest, longest corner, and 3 being the sharpest. And you'll write that on a piece of paper, and you'll be trying to be the fastest to do your code, but also be correct when you do it. And you're trying to do the best between that, because you'll only get a certain amount of points depending on how fast you finished. So it's a really interesting game. It was just fun and silly. And then another surprise was Fyfe, but only because Fyfe and Bohemians, actually. Fyfe and Bohemians I thought were totally different games, but I judged them by their cover and didn't really look into them. So Fyfe is like, so you're building things from a bag. So you're getting tokens and you're building out your player board, which is a dual layer player board with a bunch of token holes. And you're trying to have sets of numbers, sets of colors, sets of icons that match a surfboard that's aligned in that row or column. And you'll get points for completed rows and columns in those patterns. And for some reason, I thought Fyfe was like some adventure-like game where, I don't know, I imagined like you being a character and having to like be on an island, and I don't know, but that is not what it is. And then Bohemians was like very artsy and from Portal Games, and I've played a few games from Portal Games, but so I think I kind of wrote it off, but it's actually like a deck builder game, and it's really fun, and we just like role played some of the activities that we do because we're all different types of artists. So it's like, I think I was a sculptor and someone else was like a painter, a musician, but then we'd also have jobs we'd have to do. So I was a sculptor and a beggar. So anyways, so you'd be trying to match different colors together and collect points and just make like just a deck builder with a different kind of theme, and it was neat. Deck building was probably one of the mechanisms that started me in the hobby, so I got tired of it over a set amount of time, but I do like returning to it every once in a while, and this one was a good one. But one game that unfortunately maybe it was because I had anticipated it for so long, because so many people asked me if I had tried Honey Buzz, but Honey Buzz was a bit more of a disappointment for me. I think I only played it once and I only played it solo, but I think in the solo mode, and I'm sure maybe I did it wrong, but there are two little AI bee workers that take up worker placement spots that if they're in that spot, you're not allowed to go at all. And in the multiplayer game, if there's a bee in a worker placement spot, then you just need to have one more bee worker placed there on your turn in order to take the action. So let's say it's a forage action and there's already a bee there, then you have to place two bees in order to take that action. So you're still open to doing it. And I get part of the challenge of solo is that you have certain spaces blocked, but I think I would tweak that rule and see if that would help my ability to play it. Otherwise, like there's some pretty interesting things there. But the other thing is maybe it was like an economic pattern type of game, worker placement, that was more of like a gateway game that maybe I expected more from it. I'm not sure. But it looked really pretty and the organizer was really great. It was a deluxe copy, so there is that as well. But with that, those being my favorites, surprises, and disappointments, I will talk about my one big event, or biggish little event, I don't know. But for January, I also went to Beaver Con, which is a convention I've been to a few times, and they've actually now done it for 2 days instead of just one, and they do it a couple times a year, and it's in Guelph. But myself and a couple of friends went for the full 2 days and played 14 games total over that period. But it was January 31st and February 1st, so I'm only counting January 31st because we are going to stick to the rules. But it was a really fun weekend and really glad that the weather was okay. I was supposed to stay at a friend's house, but given that the weather was okay, and I didn't have a mechanical mattress pump, so I would have been pumping my mattress for like 2 hours. And yeah, I think the drive home was the better option. I also arrived before all of them, so I mean, but with all of that, some things for the future that I'm hoping to do to get a Finspan playthrough out there. I asked on my Instagram about if people would like a off with their heads. Ooh, let's see. An off with their heads playthrough, because I tried to just bend the rules a little bit to play it solo, and we can talk about that when that happens. February is a bit of a slow month. There's no real conventions coming up. March is a bit heavier, and yeah, if there's anything else that you'd like to see from me, let me know. And yeah, oh, we got 100 subscribers, so thank you very much for subscribing. That is very fun. I don't know, maybe I should do something fun if we reach 250 subscribers by March 1st. No, that's not gonna happen. That would be wild. That'd be ridiculous. But if it does happen, I'll do my next recap video in a hot dog costume. And if you watch this full video, put a hot dog in the comments, because doing banana and the other one was really fun. So let's see if we can just have some hot dogs in the comments. Have a good one and goodbye.